From late 2006 to 2007, Pennington Motorsports ran in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and although the team didn't accumulate the best results, the team is still remembered for having notable drivers and one of the coolest sponsors and one of the most popular paint schemes in Truck Series history. So join me as we look into the short-lived tenure of the Pennington Motorsports Truck Team. In the fall of 2006, J.L. Pennington formed Pennington Motorsports based out of North Carolina. Pennington had bought Chevy equipment from the Spears manufacturing team and other related Chevy organizations throughout the Truck Series. The team landed sponsorship from Hooters Energy Drink, which was set to launch in early 2007. Pennington had planned to run the 3 of the final 5 races of the season in 2006 with new driver Casey Kingsland, and then plan a full-time effort in 2007. Kingsland, who had only attempted a handful of truck races, was trying to get approved to run 2007 action at all tracks by running some intermediate races and some short track races as well. Their first race was the fall truck race at Martinsville, which was going to be a tough challenge for Kingsland as 40 trucks were entered, and with no owner points, Kingsland needed to make the show on time. Kingsland didn't show much speed out of the gate, however, as he was slowest in practice, needing to pick it up in order to make the race. However, the speed simply wasn't there. Kingsland was only 30th quickest in qualifying and failed to qualify in his very first attempt. It was a big setback for the team, but the plan was still in play to attempt Phoenix and Homestead with the sponsorship of Hooters Energy Drink. Coming into Phoenix, Pennington caught a lucky break, as there was only 35 trucks on the entry list, guaranteeing Casey his very first start. Once again, though, like Martinsville, Kingsland didn't show much speed out of the gate, as he was once again slowest in practice and qualified last in the field, starting 35th. Kingsland, in his second start, ran a clean, safe race, being the last truck to finish the race, though, 3 laps down in the 31st position. Kingsland said after the race, "I hope no one is judging us by our performance at Phoenix because we were quicker than we showed. All we had to do at Phoenix was to run, finish the race, stay out of trouble, and not cause any incidents. I know we easily could have been a top 20, top 25 truck easily. We were running up there, but every caution, I just let everybody go by because they were fighting, dicing pretty good, and I didn't want to get in the way. Nope, you're a hazard," NASCAR says, "but yet we did our jobs. So far, everything's going to plan, and I look forward to the remaining races of the season and into 2007. Following the race at Phoenix, Kingsland was approved by NASCAR to attempt the finale at Homestead. But the test was still on for Kingsland as 37 trucks showed up, meaning one would not make the race. Same as Martinsville, Kingsland had no owner points to fall back on and would need to make the show on time. However, like Martinsville and Phoenix, Kingsland was once again slowest in practice and needed to pick it up in order to make the race. Pennington and Kingsland got an amazing break. Despite being slowest again in qualifying, the number 1 of Robert Richardson Jr., who was also a go-or-go-homer, had issues on his qualifying lap and would run slower than the 7 truck, therefore guaranteeing Kingsland and Pennington their second start of 2006. Shotgun on the field, 36th on the grid. Just like Phoenix, although Kingsland did not show amazing speed, kept the truck clean, and got a career best finish of 28th place. A great end to the season for the Pennington Motorsports team. Heading into 2007, the plan was supposed to be Casey Kingsland full-time with crew chief Gary Showalter, along with full-time sponsorship from Hooters Energy Drink and even the possibility of 5 Busch races throughout 2007. Races were not specified earlier in the year. Unfortunately, Kingsland was not cleared to drive Daytona, but would still run for Rookie of the Year honors in the final 24 races instead. On January 31st, just a couple of weeks before Daytona, Pennington Motorsports tabbed veteran driver and former Daytona 500 champion Derek Cope to drive the number 7 truck at Daytona. With 37 trucks and virtually no owner points, Cope needed to make the show on time. Cope would show promising speed in practice, placing 33rd on the charts, which would have been quick enough to make the race. Cope would back up that speed even better in qualifying, placing 29th on the charts, safely locking the 7 truck into the race.
Derek Cope, he's going to drive the Hooters Energy Drink number 7. Our 1990 Daytona 500 winner, Derek Cope, a 2-time Nextel Cup winner. had such a great run going in our Truck Series race at Talladega. I think it was in the top 5 on the very last lap. Had a very, very hard wreck, and great to see that he got out of that truck okay, but a good run for him. Mikey, who are you going to look at?
I'm going to look at Cale.
The race would be an eventful one as Cope was directly behind the 46 of Mike Wallace as it got turned into the wall on the very first lap, barely missing that crash. Following a restart on lap 7, Cope had made his way into the top 25, but on lap 10 going into turn 1, Cope would lose the truck, getting into another truck, but making an incredible save, not hitting anything else.
Lines or transmission.
Inside's covered here, 2x2.
You can hear the team trying to discuss with him what it might be. He says everything looks good. In trouble.
Got a little bit of smell like gear oil, but not bad.
Derek Cope got on the inside in that number 7 Hooters truck, and as soon as he went down on the inside, the yellow flag came out.
That's a good break right there for Carl Edwards. We heard him say that maybe smells a little bit like some gear oil, so that obviously he's going to bring that truck down on pit road. Matt Fuchsia is going to take a look at that thing.
Well, you know, it's a great break for Carl Edwards, but did you see Derek?
What I thought he crashed.
I mean, how do you get in that kind of a bind and not wipe out? Let's watch the 7 truck. Center of your screen, lets up because Hornaday's there, bumps into Brendan Gaughan on the outside, and he crashes, but he never hits anything.
Kenny Schrader just skirts by on the right side of Derek Cope, maybe even made a little bit of contact.
That was just a bad set of circumstances, Rick. He was on the inside of another truck. The truck ahead of him let off. When he backed off, the truck on the outside of him, and he bumped, and there was nothing he could do. He was a victim of circumstances.
Going to get a good view. This is the Fastenal Dodge of Kenny Schrader. Watch that Hooters energy drink right in front of me. See him make contact.
Little brake check there.
Whoa, what a job by Ken Schrader.
Cope would restart 30th after the caution, and by lap 23 had once again made his way back into the top 25. Unfortunately, off of turn 4, the 09 was coming onto pit road, and the field didn't check up, and a huge crash ensued, leaving the 7 of Cope nowhere to go.
You can take a look. There's Joey Clanton, the 09, slowing down. He's on the bottom of the racetrack. The 3 wide behind him.
Oh, the 63 truck just didn't get the memo, man.
He couldn't slow down as Joey Clanton was trying to get off the racetrack.
Joey was not off the racetrack yet. He was straddling the yellow line, and they came around there, and the 63, he probably concerned about the guy beside him and didn't see him. Here we go again.
He's driving through these guys to get up there. His spotter should have said, he should have known a lap before the 09's got to pit. His spotter's got to tell him the 09's coming to pit road. He's on the bottom. Go high. And you know, that was a communication problem. If he didn't hear that spotter, or the spotter didn't tell him, that's the spotter's fault.
A lot of times, don't you guys put your hands up in the air saying, hey?
The end result for Cope was 33rd, a definite disappointing effort to Pennington's first race of 2007. Race number 2 at California saw Casey Kingsland return to the 7 truck and will be the biggest track Kingsland had ever run on. With only 34 trucks entered, the number 7 were once again guaranteed to make the race. Kingsland was 32nd in practice and unfortunately went slower in qualifying, being only 33rd on the charts. Kingsland was consistently slower than the field, and by lap 85 was 3 laps behind the leader and was the last truck running. On lap 86, however, Kingsland spun through the grass, and although there was not much damage to the truck, the team discovered the radiator was leaking and thus ended their night. End result was a 32nd place finish for Kingsland and a second straight DNF for Pennington in 2007. This would turn out to be Kingsland's only start in 2007, as although he was scheduled to drive the rest of the season, Kingsland was made the test driver for the team, and his replacement for Atlanta was rookie Brad Keselowski, a young rookie who was driving in the Busch Series for Keith Coleman. With only 35 trucks showing up to Atlanta, the 7 team was once again locked into the race. It didn't take long for Keselowski to get used to the truck as he practiced strongly inside the top 30, placing 26th on the charts, showing the most speed the number 17 had ever seen. Unfortunately, though, the number 17 didn't have a huge allotment of tires, and Keselowski had to qualify on the same set of tires from practice, but still placed a strong 28th, the best qualifying result ever for the Pennington Motorsports team at the time. Through lots of attrition in the race and staying out of trouble, Keselowski would get the best finish the Pennington team had ever seen, 19th place, clean and on the lead lap. It was only scheduled to be a one-race deal for Keselowski, but due to his impressive performance, he was signed on to drive one more race at Martinsville the very next week, which was going to be a tough challenge for Keselowski as 41 trucks were entered, and the number 7 team was still in the Go or Go Homers group. Keselowski placed only 33rd quickest on the practice charts, which wouldn't have been quick enough to make the show, but luckily stepped it up in qualifying, managing 31st on the charts, barely making the show, being the second to last truck to lock in on time. And just like Atlanta, Keselowski ran a clean, safe race, getting a lucky dog, and getting another lead lap finish, second straight top 20 finish of finishing 20th. Two extremely impressive results for Pennington that would put the team ahead of the Go or Go Homers battle in the owner points. Following the 2 races from Keselowski, Casey Kingsland was rumored to return to the truck at Texas. However, Jason White was announced to drive not only Texas, but for the rest of the 2007 season, bringing along his associate sponsorship from gunbroker.com. This deal meant that Kingsland's tenure with Pennington was officially over. Race number 5 at Kansas only had 36 trucks entered, therefore the 7 team was locked into the field again. White would practice only 35th, but would pick it up on the qualifying charts to 32nd. And for the 3rd straight week, the number 7 would have another clean race without issue. White this time, though, would finish 6 laps down in 28th place. Unfortunately, though, this finish would put the number 7 team back into the weekly Go or Go Homers battle. Race number 6 at Charlotte would be a bad weekend overall for the 7 team. 37 trucks showed up for 36 spots, thus meaning the number 7 would have to qualify on speed. And the speed, though, simply was not there, as the 7 truck was slowest in practice charts by nearly half a second, and qualifying didn't fare much better as White could still only manage 37th on the speed charts, missing the race by just under 2/10. It was the second DNQ for the Pennington team and a big setback overall, as now they were in a full-time effort. Race number 7 at Mansfield saw once again 37 trucks entered, meaning the 7 of White would once again have to qualify in on time. Luckily this time, the 7 truck was showing more speed, being 34th on the practice charts. White would back it up in qualifying, safely locking the 7 team into the race, starting 30th on the grid. Despite a spin on lap 125, White still kept the 7 truck clean and brought Pennington its 3rd best finish of its tenure in 26th. Race number 8 at Dover luckily saw just 38 trucks entered, meaning the 7 truck was safely locked into the race once again. It was a very lucky break for the 7 team as they struggled for speed the entire weekend, being over 2 seconds off in practice, placing 36th, and being another 2 seconds off in qualifying, slotting in 35th. Number 7 of White was able to dodge the huge pileup that ensued on lap 2 that put out over 10 trucks, and despite another spin by himself on lap 47, still managed to keep the truck clean, finishing 14 laps down solidly in 22nd place, the new 3rd best finish for the Pennington Motorsports tenure. Race number 9 at Texas saw the number 7 of White catch another break as only 35 trucks were entered, meaning for the 2nd straight week, the 7 truck of White was locked into the race. Just like Charlotte, however, the speed was not there, as White was only 32nd on the practice charts, over 1.5 seconds off the leader. Qualifying fared worse than practice, as the number 7 of White was over 2 seconds slower than the pole sitter, slotting in 33rd on the charts. Despite the slow pace, however, number 7 of White stayed out of trouble and through attrition managed to get its 2nd straight 22nd place finish, being 6 laps down. Race number 10 at Michigan saw 37 trucks show up for 36 spots, meaning number 7 of White once again had to qualify on time. With the last couple of races not showing a lot of speed, number 7 of White and the team were a little surprised when they ran 32nd on the practice charts. Qualifying showed the lap was not a fluke, as the number 7 of White safely made the show again, slotting in 31st on the grid. Like the last couple of races, the number 7 of White stayed out of trouble and ran another clean race, finishing 27th place on the lead lap for just the 3rd time in 2007. Race number 11 at Milwaukee luckily saw just 36 trucks again entered, meaning that the 7 team were locked into the race again. White had consistently shown the most speed he had shown since stepping into the truck, practicing inside the top 30 for the first time, placing 28th on the charts. And although he went slower in qualifying, White got his best qualifying start of the year of 29th place. Like the last couple of races, through attrition and keeping the truck clean, the number 7 of White got a solid 26th place finish, Pennington's 4th best result of 2007. Race number 12 at Memphis saw for the second straight week again 36 trucks entered, meaning the number 7 of White were locked into the race. White showed good speed in practice, placing 33rd, and stepping it up in qualifying, slotting in 31st. White was running a clean race until 25 laps to go when the 7 truck started leaking oil. And with 15 laps left, NASCAR would actually black flag the 7 due to leaking oil, and the 7 of White retired from the event shortly after. It was the 7's first DNF since Auto Club and 3rd DNF overall in 2007. After race 12 at Memphis, Pennington Motorsports would actually announce that they were switching from Chevrolet equipment to Dodge, having purchasing equipment for the Bobby Hamilton Motorsports team, and are hopeful to improve speed and overall performance. Race number 13 at Kentucky saw for the 3rd straight week just 36 trucks, meaning that the 7 team were safely in the show. Despite the new Dodge equipment, however, the speed didn't really improve, as the number 7 of White was only 35th on the practice charts. White was able to step it up in qualifying, slotting in 34th on the grid, but still over 2 seconds off the pole. Like the last couple of races, though, White kept the 7 truck clean through attrition and was able to get a new 3rd best team finishing result, a solid 23rd place. Race number 14 at ORP would be a big weekend for the Pennington Motorsports team, as along with their truck team, they were attempting their very first Busch race, acquiring an old test car from the Armando Fitz racing team. With 37 trucks and 44 Busch cars entered, Jason White would have to qualify in on time for both races. White showed strong speed in the first truck practice, slotting in 29th on the charts, while being 40th quickest in the Busch Series practice. Truck qualifying wouldn't go as well for White, as he could only manage 32nd on the charts, while in Busch qualifying, White barely made the show by just over 10th, slotting in 43rd on the grid. A very huge accomplishment for the Pennington Motorsports team, making both races, especially the Busch Series, in their debut attempt. The truck race was going very cleanly for White, as after lap 79, the 7 teams stayed out in a gambling attempt to try to gain track position, and even would hold second place for a good 10 laps, until lap 92 restart. The number 7 of White had fallen outside the top 5, and going into turn 1 was heavily wrecked by the 88 of Matt Crafton. An extremely
bearing down on him, he is enjoying life out front.
You know, getting very close, problems into the wall. Jason White backs it into the wall in turn number 1. The field trying to slow down on the inside of the racetrack. That will bring out our 5th caution of the day.
Yeah, hard contact into the outside wall. These trucks enter the corner at about 120 or 25 miles an hour. Something happened to Jason. I don't know if there was contact there. Looked like it, Michael?
Yeah, the 88, I think, got a hold of him. And that's a shame. You know, he was running second. Everybody worked their way around him. He was having a good run, and then somebody gets into him and messes it up. I don't know if it was the 88's fault or the 7's fault. Maybe we can get a look at it, but I know there was some contact.
Take another look at it.
I thought they were going to come in the booth with us.
Yeah, the 88 certainly made contact with the 7.
That's just a shame. You'd like to see a guy like that get a little respect. You know, he's
frustrating end to a promising run for Pennington with their 4th DNF of 2007. On the Busch Series side, however, the race went much better, as the 08 of White ran a clean race and through a lot of attrition brought home a very solid 26th place finish. A solid run in Pennington's Busch Series debut. Back to the Truck Series, race number 15 at Nashville saw 36 trucks once again entered, meaning that the 17 were once again locked into the show. Practice wasn't good, as the number 7 of White was only 35th on the charts, only running 2 laps, appearing that they had rear gear issues. Getting it fixed for qualifying, and improved to 31st on the grid after the bad crash at ORP, Wright was able to run a clean race for the 17, bringing home a solid 27th place finish. Race number 16 at Bristol was once again a big weekend for Pennington, as they were both planning to attempt both the truck and Busch races. Like IRP, White did have to qualify for both races again. Truck practice showed the best speed the 7 ever had with White behind the wheel, practicing 22nd on the charts. Number 7 of White was able to keep the same speed in qualifying, going a little slower in 24th, but still the best overall qualifying result the number 7 truck had ever had. Unfortunately, the same luck didn't come in the race, as though they were running outside the top 25 just barely. The clutch went out on lap 27, and on lap 88 actually forced White to retire from the race, finishing a disappointing 34th and getting Pennington's 5th DNF of 2007. The Busch race didn't fare much better also, as White was 38th on the practice charts, but actually would crash in practice, forcing the team to withdraw from the event.
9:15 to sport in the 08 car spin. Jason White, watch the impact right there. Oh my heavens. The good news is both drivers were okay, but that's about as hard of an impact as you can have here. Just after 9 o'clock, 41 car comes around, right in the right side.
Although they had planned to run 5 Busch races at the beginning of 2007, this would be the second and last attempt that Pennington Motorsports would try in the Busch Series. Race number 17 at Gateway saw just 36 trucks entered, once again meaning the 7 team was locked into the show. White was only 33rd on the practice charts, but did climb up to 32nd in qualifying, still nearly 2 seconds off the pole sitter, however. White was able to keep the truck clean despite sitting on pit road for 6 laps, fixing a broken shock. The number 7 team was able to get back out on track and still managed to finish a solid 23rd, despite being 12 laps behind the leaders through attrition on track. It was a very solid effort for the Pennington team, especially after all the issues they had suffered in the last couple of weeks. Race number 18 at Loudon saw 37 trucks entered, meaning number 7 would have to qualify in on time. However, Mother Nature had other options. The number 7 of White ran 33rd in practice, despite only running 3 laps, and although he needed to qualify in, rain washed out qualifying, guaranteeing the 7 a spot in the show, ironically enough qualifying 33rd on the grid. White ran another clean race, staying out of trouble, finishing 27th 3 laps down. This would turn out to be the last race that Pennington would actually see the checkered flag in. Race number 19 at Las Vegas saw only 36 trucks entered once again. So the number 7, of course, were locked in. Showing a common theme, White did not show a lot of speed in practice, placing only 32nd on the charts, but White was able to pick it up in qualifying, getting number 7 truck to 30th on the grid. White was running a clean race as usual until lap 111. After a restart on lap 110, White had pulled up to the front of the pack to try and get one of his laps back. And on the backstretch of that restart, accidentally came up in front of the 29 of Scott Lynch and got hooked into the wall, relegating the number 7 team to a disappointing 27th place finish.
Here they come to the green flag. We are back underway at Las Vegas. As the race continues on the left screen, you see on the right screen, Todd Bodine back into the garage.
Looks to the outside of Johnny Benson. That's a battle for the second position. Not quite able to pull it off. Ooh, trouble.
Smoke coming out of the number 7. And there has been some heavy contact also.
Yeah, Jason White. Tough break for him. He was racing to try to get the Aaron's lucky dog. A lot of damage to that Hooters energy drink, Dodge.
I had shined the spotlight on him to start off this race. Not the way he wanted to end. He had 2 races this year already where he had a 22nd place finish, and now this will relegate him back to potentially 28th as far as the best he'll be able to finish.
He's in the middle of a 3 wide situation. Looks like he may have moved up the racetrack and made a little contact with the 29 of Scott Lynch. Got into the outside wall. As the brakes locked up, the front brakes locked up. Makes a little bit of contact with the wall over and turns it left.
7th caution of the night, Phil.
Yeah. A lot of attrition here.
overall being Pennington's 6th DNF of 2007. This would be the last race for the Hooters energy drink sponsorship, as Gunbroker.com would take over primary sponsorship at race 20 at Talladega. Race number 20 at Talladega saw just 36 trucks entered again, meaning the 7 team were locked in again. The number 7 of White showed amazing speed in practice, as using the other Dodges, practiced 12th on the charts. As for qualifying though, the single truck speed was not there, as White only managed 30th on the grid, but would drop to the rear due to an outside impound adjustment. White was running at the tail of the lead draft when suddenly on lap 4, his technical teammate, the number 4 of Mike Bliss, blew a tire and White had nowhere to go.
First caution of the day has come out here at Talladega Super Speedway. It was 2 trucks that got together. The 4 of Mike Bliss looked as though he cut a tire, and we talked earlier about we saw smoke out of that 4, and as he was moving up the racetrack very hard towards the wall, he caught Jason White just on the front end. Let's take another look, Phil.
Yeah, more than likely he had made contact with somebody or had a tire rub of some sort. Watch top of your screen there. It just took off to the right here, and that truck doesn't do that unless something breaks or a tire goes down, and poor Jason White in the Gunbroker.
Totaling his truck and resulting in a 35th place finish, Pennington's 7th DNF of the season, and a tough blow after showing amazing speed in practice. Race number 21 at Martinsville saw 42 trucks entered, arguably the toughest field Pennington and White ever had to deal with. Needing to qualify in on time, White needed plenty of speed. Unfortunately, was not there. White was only 39th in practice, and although he picked up over a quarter of a second, White was the first truck to miss the race by just 69 hundredths of a second. The second DNQ for Pennington this season. Race number 22 at Atlanta was lucky for Pennington, as only 36 trucks showed up, guaranteeing White a spot in the race. But the speed was not there at all. White was 35th in practice, being over 2 seconds off the leader. Qualifying was worse, as White qualified on the same set of tires at practice and was slowest in qualifying, being over 3 seconds off the pole. The worst starting spot for the number 7 truck this season. Despite running clean and trying to stay out of the way, by lap 22 the team had already gotten their first 2 slow black flag, bringing the truck to pit road for new tires. White was able to last another 66 laps, when on lap 93, NASCAR parked the number 7 for being too slow, finishing 31st and getting their 8th DNF of 2007. Race number 23 at Texas did see 37 trucks entered, meaning the 7 of White had to make the show on time once again. Using the same truck from Atlanta, however, the number 7 did not show a lot of speed, being only 34th on the practice charts. White managed to qualify for the race, being the last truck to make it on time, slotting in 36th on the grid. White was running by himself on track when on lap 30, he had tagged the wall off of turn 2 and was forced to pit. 5 laps later, the new tire had went down again, and while they made it back to the pits, they discovered suspension damage in the right front wheel, forcing them to retire early, finishing 34th and getting Pennington's 9th DNF of 2007. This would turn out to be the final race Pennington Motorsports would make for 2007. Race number 24 at Phoenix had 38 trucks show up, meaning once again the number 7 would be forced to qualify in on time. Like the last couple of races, the speed was not there, as the 7 was slowest in both practice and qualifying, missing the show by nearly 2 seconds and getting the Pennington team's 3rd DNQ of 2007. Race number 25, the finale at Homestead, showed 41 trucks on the entry list. Very tough challenge for the number 7 team, as White had not shown the speed to make races the last couple of events. Unfortunately, Homestead was no different. White was 39th in practice, needing to pick up over half a second to make the show. Sadly, the speed was not there, as White was only 40th quickest in qualifying, getting Pennington's 4th DNQ of 2007 and ending the season overall on a disappointing level. After 2007, Pennington Motorsports was shut down and his main assets were sold to driver Jason White and the Green Light Racing Team. Truck number 7's 2006 to 2007 driver statistics are Jason White, attempting 21 races, making 4 of them, with an average start of 31.6 and an average finish of 27.9, with a best finish of 22nd. Brad Keselowski, who would run 2 races for the team, with an average start of 29.5 and an average finish of 19.5, with a best finish of 19. Casey Kingsland would run 3 races for the team, with an average start of 34.2 and an average finish of 30.7, with a best finish of 28. Derek Cope, who ran 1 race, would have an average start of 29th and an average finish of 33rd, with 33rd being his best finish. The Busch Car 2007 driver statistics were Jason White with 2 attempts, making 1 of them, with an average start of 43rd and an average finish of 26th. Pennington Motorsports total statistics were races competed in Busch, 1, races competed in the Truck Series, 25, drivers, 5, an average start of 31.7, and an average finish of 27.9, with a purse money total of $228,090 and an owner's point finish of 33rd in 2007. In total, the Pennington Motorsports tenure in NASCAR wasn't anything memorable and is very much forgotten, but for sure had one of the most popular Truck Series schemes in history that will forever be immortal. Unfortunately, J.L. Pennington passed away in 2015 at the age of 83. Godspeed you, JL. We'll never forget that awesome Hooters racing scheme. Thank you guys for watching. Tune into my other videos such as the ARCA Racing Podcast, Backmarker Battles, and other related chassis content videos. Thank you again, guys, for watching. Follow me on social media at Twitter at StartandParkCar. And take care, guys, and you guys have a fun day. So long.